in terms of enforcement of TOS, ideologically align with people like Hassan and Mike. But like, for example, like Mike from PA.
But at the same time,
let me make my point real quick. Let me you can respond. I promise you. But like,
yeah, go for it. Go for
it. Mike from PA from a few days ago. He didn't do what Hassan did. Hassan said that I'm not saying it was a false flag, but it looks exactly like it would look if it was a false flag. But I'm not saying it's a false. Mike came out and basically said this was a false flag. This is one of the most prominent left-wing creators on this entire website. Do you not?
Ooh, and this is also a good example of Hassan diverting his audience down to more radical orbiters, right? Like, wasn't one of the, problems that, the worry Hassan is actually diverting his audience down the pipeline to become like a radical, right? Like, if people end up watching Mike from PA because of Hassan, right? Mike from PA is more unhinged and more mask off than Hassan, even though they probably believe the same things, right? So this is a really good example of, in my opinion, like diverting the audience down to more extreme people, no?
I think that there are valid concerns in terms of like, if you're a creator on Twitch and you make part of your income comes from ad revenue, do you not agree that it's a problem potentially for Twitch to like allow this kind of extremism to like fester and reach a boiling point to the point where there could be like an adpocalypse on Twitch? We're not talking about.
Well, I mean, there already has been a little bit of an adpocalypse, and that was provoked by people like Dan Saltman and that whole maybe we can get into that a little bit, but kind of like the ridiculous situation with the hummus panel and stuff like that. But I think I'm kind of getting ahead of myself by saying that. First, I want to address when it comes to I did not see Mike's response, but I did see Hassan's, and he made it very clear. Like he said continually.
Well, that wasn't his point, right? Like his point was, do you think people are radicalized by Hassan's language? And it's less about what Hassan is saying. It's about how people take away from his message, right? Like that's what people are talking about. People aren't talking about what specifically Hassan is saying. Like they're talking about what's the conclusion that people are taking away from watching Hassan, right? Or from consuming some of Hassan's content.
I think that this person, in what they did, I think he used the term. There was a specific word.
Brain broken, I think he said. He was like saying he was crazy.
Well, he did say that he was brain broken.
He said he was genuine and brain broken.
Yes, genuine. Exactly. Yeah. There we go. There's no like that. That ends the story on whether or not he thought that was actually whether he was implying that was actually a like a false flag. Well, because
do you agree that
genuine in their actions is not going to be part of a false flag?
Do you agree that especially when you're a really big creator, you do have a certain responsibility to be responsible in your rhetoric? Would you agree? Like you don't want to unintentionally endorse things or whatever. So like when you look at the clip of when Hassan was talking about like, well, I'm not saying it's a false flag, but it looks exactly like one. His chat was just pouring with dozens and you know how fast his chat moves. Like dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of people that were like, this is super sus. This looks like a psyop. This was a false flag. And I don't know, you say you watched his stream, so I don't know how much he like moderates the stream, but when I look at a community that is like that over the line, like they like that when I say Lefty QAnon, that's what I'm talking about. Like this
do you think that would you say the same about Destiny's community?
Because, anybody's community.
Because like I mean for like Destiny's community, when they were I've seen lots of other examples of it, but one of the most like egregious examples was when he was discussing things having to do with the whole what they call it's really distasteful, but the Pollywood thing, like the kind of the notion that what I'm talking about when I say that, right? But just
no.
Your audience. Oh, you don't?
No.
It's basically like fucking Alex Jones InfoWars level conspiracy stuff, where the idea is that a lot of what we're seeing is actually just in some ways manufactured, like not necessarily fake.
Oh, you mean for like the pro-Palestinian stuff?
Yeah,
Oh.
like so it's like stuff where no, I'm talking about like things going on in Gaza where people are dying, where like either they think that the like babies are fake or the victims are not actually like victims, they're still alive, they're just posing as victims. And in some cases, in one, because Destiny basically.
Oh. So he's not, sorry. Before I thought he was talking about the October 7th rapes that happened. But I guess what he's actually talking about is Pallywood, where Hamas would intentionally film disasters of Palestinian families and try to cause them on purpose so they can film them in order to get support from the West. That's what Vadim is talking about specifically. Okay, I see.
Played with that shit a few times. And in one situation, he wasn't quite saying that the entire video that we were watching was fake. He was saying that these people were basically like gambling with their lives or like, you know, basically like trying to make themselves martyrs, going into a situation where they knew that if they got shot and died, it would become like a
propaganda tool.
Item. And you know, that itself is really like wacky. I mean, wacky's the wrong word. Really gross. And just
I don't know the particulars of what you're talking about, so I don't know how to evaluate the claim.
My point is, sure, I understand, but my point is that like when I reviewed the footage of every time he talked about those things, the amount of just like, you know, like everybody was saying that shit was incredibly fake, and it's
can I give you
way more?
Can I give you an example? Like, so like the Al Ahli hospital, do you remember when that was in the news? So if you'll recall, Hamas, I think like very shortly after the attack, they held a press conference and they had like I think they had like older men like holding dead babies in their hands or something like that, and they were initially reporting that I think like 400 or 500 people died in that attack, and then that ended up being total bullshit. I mean, the real number I think was like closer to 40, which is, I mean, bad. And then there was also a huge source of contention around like where that rocket fire came from. And to my understanding is like we still don't really have like 100% answer of like one way or the other. But like that, would you agree that that would be an example of Hamas staging an event with like clear propaganda goals? The other,
what was the example you gave?
The amount of just like, you know, like everybody was saying that shit was incredibly fake, and it's
can I give you
way more?
Can I give you an example? Like, so like the Al Ahli hospital, do you remember when that was in the news? So if you'll recall, Hamas.
Okay, so what Hutch is talking about here is specifically the hospital bombing earlier on in the Israel-Palestinian conflict that everybody was saying, oh, Israel J-damned 500 Palestinians, but it turns out that nobody was killed except for maybe like one person, and ultimately the rocket ended up like landing in the parking lot, and the Gazan health ministry run by Hamas basically lied to everyone and said that, oh, 500 Palestinians have perished from the attack, which is like deliberately untrue, right? So yeah, so this is what Hutch is talking about right now. He's pointing this out as an example of Hamas spreading propaganda and false and false narratives around in order to bolster their messaging. Yeah. So I am confused. Is he saying that propaganda is used only by one side? I mean, both sides do it. Yeah. Well, I think Hutch is saying propaganda is used on both sides, maybe, but it's not used equally. But I think what Vadim's position is that propaganda is used only by one side, and that's specifically Israel's side. They use propaganda, yeah, or something, or they lie. I think that's what his position is. So I think that's what this debate is about, yeah. But I think more broadly speaking, they're debating about Ethan Klein. But you know, they're getting kind of into the weeds a little bit, just a tiny bit, maybe. It's just
I think
not a big
like
deal.
very shortly after the attack, they held a press conference, and they had like I think they had like older men like holding dead babies in their hands or something like that, and they were initially reporting that I think like 400 or 500 people died in that attack, and then that ended up being total bullshit. I mean, the real number I think was like closer to 40, which is, I mean, bad. Yeah. And then there was also a huge source of contention around like where that rocket fire came from. And to my understanding is like we still don't really have like 100% answer of like one way or the other. But like that, would you agree that that would be an example of Hamas staging an event with like clear propaganda goals?
I mean, I think that what happened in that situation was there was a a hospital bombing, and people were, I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with the fact that like when news items are reported like just very quickly before you have a moment to really understand completely what has occurred in that situation, it's just incredibly common to for there to be misinformation, or it's usually information that people have some reasonable expectation of being true, and then it's put out there and they're just like wrong about it.
Well,
a lot of
no, but in this case you wouldn't,
that particular hospital situation.
From what I remember, Hamas has never issued a retraction for this statement, right? Like, I'm pretty sure when the hospital got bombed, Hamas never issued a retraction. If they never issued a retraction, then it goes to show that they're not willing to correct mistakes, right? I'm not entirely sure about this. So, but I can Google
we can continue talking about it, but it gets under my skin a little bit because people like whether or not that situation was like, even if I give you that like Hamas was responsible for it and the victims were overreported and whatnot.
I think it was Islamic Jihad.
We have a like not a billion. I'm being like hyperbolic here, but we have so many instances of Israel actually bombing hospitals and doing it in like the worst way possible. So it's sort of like I don't know. It just it's like almost a moot point to me, because
it's a moot point to point out.
Well,
like,
I mean, what I mean is that the like that particular situation is just not really indicative of most of the like one, as I said, I don't think that it was a situation where Hamas was deliberately like manufacturing.
Oh, I think it was.
Or something.
I think it was.
Okay.
I think it was very obvious that that's what they were doing. I mean, are you aware that like Sinwar was on the record last year?
It was Islamic, I think, too. Yeah, from what I recall, it was Islamic Jihad, I think. What a name, am I right? Can you just imagine naming your fucking group Islamic Jihad?
Year, I believe. Just straight up saying that he thinks that like dead Palestinians like help their cause. Like, he just came out and said it. I don't know if any like do you dispute that they, like, Hamas, I mean, has this sort of like mentality about this thing?
He might have said that, but I mean, that's like,
you can look it up. I mean,
like you can find similar, like first of all, do not get me wrong. I absolutely, in any on any side, whether it's this conflict or another, I don't want to see people dying. So this is not like an endorsement of that, but there are lots of other
so like any people. So you don't like it when, like, on October 7th when a bunch of Jews died, or do you not like it when Hamas leaders gets killed? Like, That's very
It's just-
general to say.
There are lots of other liberation struggles, like the ANC included, that
Dude, Rob is so much smarter than this guy, though, babe. Right? Like, Rob is like actually so much smarter than this guy. Like, this guy is brain dead. Like, he's not even like diving into various conspiracy theories. Like, he's literally just doing like the most surface level possible fucking statements. It's all very boring.
people who spoke
Who are you talking
about
to?
them that just kind of
Okay. No, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the person who's named Babe in the chat. Jesus.
Said similar things. Like it's pretty understandable that, like, if you get the world's attention, that something is happening.
Well, okay. Let's get into that, because I think because that was something that you specifically wanted to get into. I think comparisons between the ANC and Hamas are insane. They don't make any sense. Like these are two groups with very different ideologies and very different methods of liberation. Like this is just such a horrible comparison. Like the ANC, their goal was reunification, sharing that entire country with everybody, equal rights. And Hamas's stated goal is, the elimination of Israel and expelling and killing all the Jews from the region. Number one. Number two, Hamas is
that is no, like,
of course it is.
That on they're according to their current charter,
no, come on. Like in 2017, they faced pressure from countries like UAE and Qatar to sanitize their image. They were feeling that pressure because they knew that Trump was going to take a hard stance. So they released this like sanitized version of their charter. But
they've also said that they would.
True, their old charter said to kill all Jews. Okay, like that's what their old charter literally said. So yeah. So the fact that he goes to say like, "Oh my gosh, what are you talking about? What do you mean?" It's crazy.
Would willingly step down if certain conditions were met. Like do
you believe that
are not what's that?
Do you believe they're telling the truth?
Absolutely.
What gives you that confidence?
And I do not think that they're like angels or anything. Like
that's one way to put it.
But
that's one way to put it.
Well, there's a really easy line to draw, right? It's very simple. Hamas changed the charter to take out the part where they said kill all Jews, and then they went out and committed October 7th, right? It's almost as if they changed the charter, but the actions are still extremely similar, right? Like it's still the same. They haven't changed in terms of what their practices are. The only thing they've changed is their charter, right?
At the same time, like I don't think that they are these like kill crazy, just like they're. See, this is the thing that I should have kind of just nipped at immediately. You seem to think that their main goal is, I guess, just the extermination of Jews. Their main goal is
they want to cleanse the land of Jewish people and then rule over that land with Islamic law. That's like the core of what their goals are.
I don't believe that that's the case, and there are I mean,
are they lying?
Are they lying?
Yeah, this is their stated goals. This is what they say they want to do.
Where did they state that goal?
Like in countless like public speeches, in their own charter. I mean, these are their stated goals. Like you had the mouthpiece for Hamas very shortly after October 7th say that they were going to do October 7th over and over and over again until Israel no longer existed. Like this is just the things that they say.
We have like if you're
Jesus,
the statements of like statements
their spokesperson.
Yeah, I know, but we have thousands. Well, maybe not thousands, but we have way more of that from Israeli officials.
Sure. I mean, yeah,
and they are in a power position where they could actually enact that, and they are enacting that. You don't happen to believe that this is a genocide, do you?
No, I feel comfortable with that language if they're blocking all humanitarian aid into the region. Like before, before I like genocide, we don't say something is a genocide because like a lot of people are dying. That's not how we determine whether or not something is a genocide.
Of course. So like, that's not what that's right. You understand that that's not the way that either.
Oh my god, this is so boring. Okay, all right, we're gonna watch like a few more minutes of this, and then we're gonna move on. Okay, Jesus Christ. This guy didn't do any kind of research whatsoever. Like, he literally did, like, zero everything. He didn't even try. He didn't even try to do any research. He just went in, fucking raw-dogged the debate like a fucking Giga Chad.
Human Rights Watch or Amnesty International, who are basing their opinion of it being a genocide on, they're making a legal case as to why it was a genocide and why they,
and I think like if you're deliberately starving an entire population and like to the point where I've mentioned this a lot on stream, but like 80% of people in Gaza rely on humanitarian aid for food. And if you just stop that aid going in, you are going to starve 1.5 million people, 1.6 million people. So that is for sure genocidal actions. And so
I'm glad that you've come to the point now that that those are genocidal actions, but the overwhelming majority of genocide scholars and legal scholars and like every single worthy.
Okay, I'm curious. Who? Name one. Just name a few genocidal scholars, or sorry, not genocidal scholars, because that just implies like there's these scholars who are going out to genocide everyone. Like just name like a few scholars who think that this is a genocide and name why like they think it is. Okay, because I'm tired of people like using the term genocide without like actually knowing what it means. Because again, genocide refers to intent plus action, right? Like that's what a genocide is. Okay, so is the intent, is there premeditation, is there intent, right? Like there are specific things you have to try to look for, right? Like it's and there's none of that. Okay?
Humanitarian group, Doctors Without Borders, people like that. I mean, I could go on and on and on for a long time.
Wouldn't you be a scholar of genocide, though? You know the most. I wish I know the bare minimum.
Have called this a genocide and made an extraordinarily reasonable case as to why it is such. And I guess that's one of the things that I wanted to point out in terms of like you kind of talking about like a left-wing.
Aren't there over 100,000 Palestinians in Israel proper? Something like that. But the thing is like, dude, how could you say it's a genocide when they're not even like rounding up people in Israel, right? Like if it's a genocide, you're trying to get rid of everybody, shouldn't you be like rounding up Palestinians in Israel too? It's just like I'm so confused. How could you have both? Like how could you have both? Like it just makes no sense.
Like QAnon type thing, because it's like I look at some of like your genocide denial, and to me that's left-wing QAnon territory.
This is
the experts that we have out there that established this for a very long time.
This is something that I've found like particular.
I mean, they're not even trying to destroy Palestinian culture. Either they're very loose or very focused. Well, yeah, that's kind of the bare minimum. Like, if you're actually trying to do like cultural genocide, like, shouldn't you be trying at least? Like, I mean, I mean, maybe I just don't know about this, right? But like, do the people in Israel, like, who are Palestinian, even practice Islam? Like, are they allowed to practice Islam? or not? Like, are they actually allowed to practice Islam, or are they not allowed to practice Islam? Like, because if they're allowed to practice Islam, like, who is being culturally genocided? Like, if they're allowed to do whatever the fuck they want inside their home, like the Palestinians in Israel, yeah,
Particularly
I'm just very
frustrating is like,
confused.
I can agree with you on 99% of your critiques of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
I can agree with you that the Palestinian civilians have been forced to endure something that is totally unacceptable. I've the whole
Well, I
time
think
conceded
Lonerbox
that there
joins
are
the debate at some
atrocities
point.
occurring every single day. So like we can line up on so many things, but if I have a particular, like if I think of the word genocide and I compare it to other modern conflicts, I compare it to other like previous genocides that have occurred, and I have a hard time using that particular language, you want to focus like hyper specific on like my verbiage. And I just, to me, that seems like such a, like that seems such a you know, interesting thing to get caught up on. I don't deny that.
I would think that you.
I don't deny that Israel, the way that they have treated Palestinians, is totally unacceptable and is barbaric, and they've been doing it for decades.
Okay. Two things. I don't particularly mind at the end of the day if like, you know, if you have some other word for what Israel had been subjecting the Palestinians to from close to day one. Like, it's been a fucking horror show. It's been like mass industrial scale.
No, I understand that, but like we saw mass industrial. Hold on, but we saw mass.
You know, when I think of mass industrial scale, you know what I think of? I think of gas chambers. Okay, if you're talking about industry, turning genocide into an industry, I'm pretty sure the Nazis were like the only ones to do that. I'm pretty sure the Nazis were the only fucking group to industrialize genocide, like make it a part of their actual fucking industry. All the other genocides shouldn't be compared to what Nazi Germany did, okay? What they did was unhinged, all right? Most other genocides are more straightforward forms of killing. So, yeah.
Industrial scale slaughter in Darfur, in Syria, in Ukraine, and so
not in this way. They're all, if you listen to just a huge range of experts, everyone.
What does industrialize even mean?
What's her name? Francesca Albanese, who is
the UN whatever person. Yeah.
I mean, there's so many more than her, but like, just there's so many things that are extraordinary and unique about this example. This truly is worse in the just a whole range of factors. And
I mean, 250,000 Syrians died in that war. That was a lot of people dead in that war. I mean, in Iraq, hundreds of thousands of people died in that war. Right.
Of course, millions. If you're looking at it purely from a numbers standpoint, that's you could find wars.
I think industrialized is like capitalism.
Millions.
It's to make it as efficient as possible. Could be wrong. It's a vague term. Well, then they're not, like, even then it's not really like. Speaking of efficiency, maybe Israelis suck at doing genocide then, okay? If you allow the Gazan population to rise over time like this, maybe you guys just really suck at, like,
tens of millions of people who have died.
Yeah.
But that's not the just the amount of bodies is not the that's not the kind of sole thing. By no means is that the sole thing that they are basing the fact that it's a genocide on. Like, it's very easy to kind of point to that, but it's about the just the relentless extermination, constantly targeting
Okay, dude, just like the words that he's even using, like so careless. The relentless extermination. Oh, what? Like, these are such loaded phrases that he's just tossing around like they're nothing. He doesn't define anything so far, like anything.
Civilians and whatnot. But let's get back. Just we can still talk about that. But I actually
Yeah,
have
okay.
a bunch of notes having to do with like the ANC. You were talking about how that is.
Let's get into that. I'm happy to get into that because that shit is crazy to me.
Okay, so first of all, I'd actually, if you would be cool with it, I'd like to show. This is totally like, totally not.
You show porn on my stream. I am cutting ties with you.
I'd like to show a 2-minute video. There's nothing.
Yeah, go for it. It's fine.
POS or violent in here.
What's that?
Like what I'm saying.
Okay.
So, this right here is. Trying to remember his name, blanking on it at the moment. This man is a Holocaust survivor who also has dedicated his life to Holocaust awareness, and he also just is kind of a, in general, like a human rights activist. And here it is. I found it. So in this, give me 1 second. I'm bad at multitasking. So share.
He's getting dog walked?
Hey,
How?
can you remind me how to?
Wait, why do you hate Hutch so much?
You're asking
Jesus.
the wrong guy for tech questions here.
Okay,
I see at the bottom of the bottom of the screen. If you hover at the bottom, it says share your screen.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, whoops. Okay. Standard definition, mixed selection. Okay.
Oh my god, this is so boring. Why am I watching this? Oh my god. I'm dying. I'm like dying of boredom.